36 minutes. That's how long it took Norway to make England believe this was about to be the greatest night in their country's football history. Then Bellingham happened twice.
2 goals from Bellingham, one in stoppage time of the first half, one 3 minutes into extra time. That's an extraordinary individual performance in a quarter-final. He's been the player of this entire tournament.
He has, and he delivered again when it mattered most. But the reason this match deserves more than 30 seconds of analysis is everything that happened in between those 2 goals and everything that happened around them. Because this was not a comfortable England victory. This was a match Norway should have won. A match that had 2 VAR decisions that went directly against them. A goalkeeper error that decided the tie in the 93rd minute of extra time. And a Haaland performance that reminded everyone why this Norwegian team lit up this entire tournament despite never reaching a final. Stay with me, because the story of Norway versus England isn't just about Bellingham. It's about what this Norwegian side did in 11 days that nobody predicted. How close they came to something that would have been discussed for decades. And what the margins of a World Cup quarterfinal actually look like when you strip the scoreline away. Schjelderup, 36th minute. A cross shot from the left that caught Jordan Pickford at his near post. A moment of individual quality from the player who has been one of Norway's most consistent performers throughout this tournament. Norway 1, England 0. Miami Stadium. In temperatures that were still pushing 32 degrees at kickoff, despite the evening hour, suddenly feeling like Oslo in a good way.
And Haaland didn't score. That's the thing people keep focusing on. He scored in every single match at this tournament, 5 consecutive games. And tonight, he didn't get one.
He didn't get one, but he influenced the match in ways that don't show up on a score sheet. And the way he didn't score tonight was itself a story. He had 2 clear opportunities in the first half. Pickford saved the first with his legs from close range after Haaland had spun onto a through ball. The second, in the 39th minute, saw him arrive at the near post on a cross and direct his header inches wide. 2 moments that in any of the previous 4 matches of this tournament would have been goals. Pickford played the match of his tournament, and England's goalkeeper deserves as much credit for the result as Bellingham does. Because without 2 saves from Haaland in the space of 3 minutes before halftime, Bellingham's first half equalizer is irrelevant. Every center back England put near Haaland spent 93 minutes worrying about where he was. Connor Cody and John Stones between them had to make 4 blocks and interceptions specifically tracking his movement, and that collective defensive preoccupation created the space that Schjelderup ran into for the opening goal. Then Bellingham equalized in the 2nd minute of first half stoppage time. A typically forceful finish, arriving late into the box from a diagonal run that pulled him away from his marker at exactly the right angle, meeting a Madueke cross at the far post and burying it with the kind of conviction that separates players who score in big moments from players who play in big moments. 1-1 at halftime. The match exactly where neither team wanted it, and exactly where both teams' coaching staffs had probably predicted it might end up before kickoff. Did you know England have now scored in the last 11 consecutive World Cup knockout matches going back to 2018? They do not leave tournament football without putting one in the net. That streak continued under the most pressure possible in the final seconds of the first half in Miami Heat, when the entire English football media had already started composing their tournament over headlines. Bellingham does not read those headlines. He answers them.
Early second half, Heggem thought he'd score. The stadium erupted, and then VAR took it away. I want to talk about that decision because it changed the entire match.
It did. Heggem headed in from a corner in the 51st minute. Norway 2, England 1 was already being celebrated in the Norwegian end before the review began. The VAR call was that Haaland had fouled Stones in the build-up, specifically an arm across the chest before the corner even came in. A marginal physical contest that happens on every set piece at every level of football, everywhere in the world, on every weekend. Whether that specific contact warranted disallowing a goal that would have put Norway in front in a World Cup quarterfinal in the 51st minute is genuinely debatable, and Norwegian television analysts were still debating it 3 hours after the final whistle. The Norwegian bench was furious. Haaland had to be physically restrained from approaching the referee on the pitch, something you don't often see from him in any context. The crowd at Miami Stadium went from raucous to subdued in the space of 90 seconds.
And then, England had their own penalty controversy in the 83rd minute. This match was absolutely full of marginal calls. 2 decisions that affected the outcome directly.
2 decisions. The Spence handball in the box in the 83rd minute was flagged as unintentional after the VAR review. The arm, in what officials deemed a natural position. Had that been given, England would have been ahead in normal time. Kane would have had a penalty, and the match would have been closed before extra extra time began. Instead, it finished 1-1 after 90 minutes and went into extra time, where Norway had legitimate cause to feel aggrieved about everything that had happened in the 51st minute. Subscribe right now, because England versus Argentina or Switzerland in the semifinal in Atlanta on Wednesday is going to be one of the most anticipated matches of this entire World Cup, and this channel is breaking it down fully before kickoff. Here's what the numbers say about this match that the scoreline doesn't fully capture. Norway had 13 shots to England's 14. Norway had 4 on target, England had 7. But expected goals tells a more complicated story. Norway generated 0.77 xG to England's 0.96 across the full match, including extra time. The gap was real, but it was not enormous. This was not a match where England dominated. This was a match where England survived, and survived specifically because of Pickford, because of Bellingham's timing, and because of a goalkeeper error in the 93rd minute of extra time. We've all felt this, following a tournament story that felt like it was building toward a historic moment, watching the margins fall the wrong way at the exact moment when they needed to fall right. Norway have been magnificent in this tournament. They beat Brazil with a goalkeeper who saved penalties and a striker who scored in 4 consecutive matches. They brought the Viking row to Miami and had fans from 3 other nations rowing alongside their supporters in stands that were full of people who'd never cared about Norwegian football before this month. They played England to extra time in a World Cup quarterfinal in their first appearance at the tournament in 28 years, with a squad that was put together in a fraction of the time and with a fraction of the budget that England had available. They got eliminated because their goalkeeper spilled a long-range shot that he should have held, and because a VAR call in the 51st minute went against them in the most consequential possible way. Fairy tale run ended by goalkeeper error, or a result that genuinely reflects the better team on the night winning. Pick one in the comments, because I think the honest answer sits in between. England were marginally better across the full match, but Norway were close enough that the 2 VAR calls and the spilled shot in extra time are the reasons for the scoreline, not the talent comparison. Nyland, 93rd minute. Rodgers' long-range shot from outside the box was speculative at best, the kind of effort you take and hope for. Nyland got both hands to it and couldn't hold it. Bellingham, arriving at pace from a diagonal run, reacted first. 1-2. England into the semifinal. Nyland has been extraordinary in this tournament. His penalty save against Brazil changed their entire run. His saves against Haaland's opponents across 4 matches kept Norway in games they could have lost. And this is the one moment his tournament will be defined by. Not because it diminishes everything he did before it, but because this is how football works. The biggest moments get the biggest weight.
I feel genuinely bad for Nyland. That's the honest reaction. He's been one of the players of the tournament, and his tournament ends with him on his knees at the Miami Stadium after a spilled shot.
That image is the image of this quarterfinal. Not Bellingham celebrating with his arms out in front of 60,000 people. Not Kane jogging around with relief written across his face. The weight of 60 years of national expectation temporarily lifted. Nyland on his knees. Because the difference between a goalkeeper error in a World Cup quarterfinal and a world-class save is about 6 centimeters of hand position and the angle at which the ball arrives in a goalkeeper's hands at 93 minutes of extra time after a full tournament of physical and psychological effort. Norway's entire run ends on 6 centimeters and a moment of misfortune.
The thing that makes it harder is that without Nyland, Norway don't even reach this quarterfinal. He saved the penalty against Brazil that changed their entire tournament. He kept them in the match against Haaland's opposition across multiple games. He was magnificent for 5 matches, and now this specific moment is what people will search for when they look him up.
That's the brutal arithmetic of tournament football. 5 extraordinary matches versus 1 moment in the 93rd minute. The football world is not always fair about how it assigns memory to goalkeepers. England are in the World Cup semifinal for the 4th time in their history. 1966, 1990, 2018, and now 2026. 60 years after the only time they've ever won it. The country that invented this sport, waiting 60 years for another final. The entire English football conversation for the next 4 days is about whether Bellingham, Kane, and Tuchel's system can stop whoever comes out of the other side of the bracket. Norway go home. But the Viking row will be their lasting image from this tournament, not the quarterfinal defeat, because what they did in the space of 11 days, beating Brazil and taking England to extra time in Miami, is more than Norwegian football has produced in a generation. In Haaland, 24 years old, playing in his first World Cup, scored in every other match of this campaign and and will be back in 4 years with this experience behind him. Commit to a prediction right now. Does England win this World Cup? Yes or no? Drop it in the comments before the semifinal, because that conversation starts right now and I want your answer on the record before kickoff. And speaking of the Norway story, from where it began against Brazil to where it ended tonight on Nyland's knees in Miami, the full breakdown of how this tournament changed everything for Norwegian football is on your screen right now. Go tap it before you do anything else.